Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Talk of That Talk official podcast. I am your, where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I had to catch myself. I am Juice, aka No Air, brother.
All right, what's good, world? I go by the name of King Exodus, aka X.
All right, world. I got a topic for y'all today. How this topic came about. Situation that happened, right? And I forgot how powerful this is, right? Self and peer evaluation. Sometimes it is best to get outside evaluations on you and a friend, you and a company, and you and business partners, right? We don't talk about how powerful that is to have an outsider come in who doesn't know both individuals or anybody who's associated within a party. Their job is to literally come in there, do the work, find out what areas is weak, how to improve them, how many of the individuals are still on task for what they want to complete out while being here. You know, how many, who's off track. This is really some powerful. Yes, I'm going to say the word. This is really some powerful shit that I believe everybody needs to do. Right? Hire somebody who doesn't know neither one of y'all or anybody in the company, and that way they work in an unbiased manner and it's very professional. Right? To a point where improvements can be made. You can see where things need to be critiqued. It's so much that goes on with evaluations from other individuals. It just helps pinpoint out and gets everybody back into the threshold. For instance, the word community, right? Everybody know what community means, right? Y'all remember, before you get community, you get the word common. So even your workspace and where you work has a common interest, right? For instance, you have people that be like, yo, what's the company motto? Everybody knows a company motto, but it might be that one person that doesn't remember the company motto, right? They said people who think alike and have the common interests are the ones who make the most effective manner versus the ones who are just there because they have an interest but not really the same common goals. So that's the topic of the night, is self and peer evaluations, individually and as a group. What you got on X?
Alrighty, so let's get going. My first point I want to bring up is this whole like Kanye West scenario, right? And this is going to lead into what I call the majority rules, right? When people look at evaluations from peers. Okay, this is why I don't necessarily agree with the majority rules concept. A lot of people agree that Kanye out of his fucking mind. Okay, to the point where some black people that's ready to whoop Kanye ass on sight if they have the opportunity. That's just how much hate they have for this guy. He speaks his mind. I don't agree with shit he's saying. He's crazy, and he's a cancer to the society. That's how a lot of black people feel about dude, right? But these same black people will get in their car, listen to drill rap, sing the whole song, listen to music that's self-destructive, go pull up at churches somewhere, probably, and eat self-destructive food. You know what I'm saying? Like all these self-destructive behaviors towards the community. And you can support particular people within the community that's destroying the community. But this guy really ain't destroying the community. He's just speaking his mind. But majority of the people saying, fuck him, whoop his ass. But then you walk past the drug dealer outside, you know what I'm saying? All this shit is cool. But fuck him up just for agreeing with Trump and all this other kind of shit. So if that's how majority of people is going to say, that's how we pick out negative people towards the community, I don't agree with it. You know what I mean? So we can't say when it comes to evaluating our peers, the majority always rules, right? You look at any percentage analogy, whether it's the 85, 15, 5, where they say 85% of the population is deaf, dumb, and blind, 15% got, you know what I'm saying, the proper knowledge, but ain't gonna do nothing with it. Then at least 5% that's gonna do right. Then you go back to the wealth, you know what I'm saying, within the nation, only really 5% of the nation is really wealthy. It's always a small percentage of people that's actually, quote unquote, doing right by life. So we can't say majority rules all the time. So that's my opening with evaluation. Be careful who's doing the evaluating. And a lot of times, if the majority is saying left, you might want to look right and come up with your own perception. So that's my opening to that.
Oh man, I definitely say I like the fact you came in with a disagreement. That way it kicked things off a lot better. I am a strong believer in getting evaluations, but at the same time, take the things you can actually learn from it and not consume everything, right?
Mhm.
I heard there were studies on. Y'all know I love to fucking learn. I remember watching this study, and they had the most healthiest people, right? Healthy,
Mhm.
right? Doctor came in, hit him with the bad news.
Mhm.
Imagine you go into a professional and he's evaluating you, but his message is negative, but nothing's wrong with you. They were testing their theory out. I
Mhm.
said, God damn. So even professionals can evaluate you and be wrong purposely, and it can
Mhm.
definitely affect you, right? That's why I had to open up with that right there. Yeah, that is
Mhm.
definitely true. Like the things you consume when you take on from other people, it can definitely overwhelm you. Or, you know what I'm saying, you can look at it, take what you get and move it to the side. But that is definitely also true. One of my favorite things about evaluation is it gives you clarity, right? We all got this mindset like, yo, I'm doing this, I'm pushing it to the metal, I'm doing that. He's like, hey, okay, cool. Like, what goals y'all had up set up for this month? Like, what was the thing? What was the 3 months? What's the 6 month? What's the year? And you telling them everything you're talking about, and then they go back and look at your work habits. Like, yo, you didn't even hit your first month, but you sitting here on social media every day, like, yeah, I'm doing it, I'm hardcore. It's one thing you can sell yourself on social media in anything.
Mhm.
But I love the people who are actually in your life who can go behind the scenes like, yo, this ain't it, bro. You like if you really have some of the things that you want to improve on, it's best that you start doing it. David Nash, he talked
Mhm.
about it his damn self. Hire some outside people to come in the company. Hey, what's going on? Let me know what's going on. What can I improve and stuff? And sometimes, and he was saying like, I can't talk about certain things with certain people because they don't want to tell you the truth. That's why I like. That's why I say I'm a big believer. Like sometimes just getting somebody who don't know none of y'all, have that out there. You both talk. That's why in the cover art photo, as you see, it's a group of individuals, and sometimes you have the self evaluation, which is an assessment paper that they have. You know, you basically do your little format. You know, you write on it, do whatever. They assess what's going on, and then they have the group assessment at the same time where they want all their peers to interact. And during those assessment times, sometimes they'll read out what one person says, like, yo, what's the most common goal here? They're trying to see who thinks alike, and they'll read it out. And they'll find out, okay, like I said, some of us were off track and some of us need to get back on track. Um, Not to be long winded on this, this is very going to be just a simple subject because I definitely believe it's needed. You can't be
Mhm.
around individuals who always tell you what you want to hear. You'll never get that far until you have some criticism at the same time. Go ahead.
Right. So my next point would be the defensive mind state. People that are too sensitive.
Mhm.
A lot of times people feel like if anybody's trying to correct them, you know what I'm saying, out of love, then they got to do it in a sweet way. You know what I'm saying? It got to be a lot of honey in the words. It got to be medicine in the candy. You know what I mean? That's cool, but it's time and it's a place for that. Sometimes people just got to be real with their peers. You know what I mean? So people that get too defensive when these type of things happen, I watch them. You know what I'm saying? If somebody trying to correct a particular habit, you know what I'm saying, because they really give a fuck, but the reaction is, well, fuck you, I'm gonna clap back. And it's like, that's not time for battle and
Yeah,
war.
yeah, it's not.
You know what I mean? Like, we really building a community of people that no one wants to listen to the next person because of the way they doing. Like, you know, we got Kevin Samuels. You know what I mean? Even if what he said was 100% accurate, to pull away from that, well, I don't like the way he said it. It was 100% accurate. You know it's accurate, but I'm not gonna fuck with it because I don't like how it was delivered. Okay, cool. Sometimes it might be a little over the edge, but can we at least just look at the information? You know what I mean? Like even if we throw the person away, them words still should resonate somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Even if you play like I ain't listening to this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes if you're a parent, you probably talking to your kid, they probably got their head down, they getting their, you know what I mean? They could be acting like they not listening, but then you get that shit time, they start repeating that shit to you and be like, well, I remember you told me blah blah blah. You're like, oh shit, you
Oh
was
yeah,
paying attention. You
I
know
was
what I
about
mean?
to get to that next. I was
Right.
gonna say,
So within that space, you know what I'm saying, who's ever giving that criticism out of love, you can't be sensitive as well. You know what I mean? If somebody don't seem like they're receiving it at the same time, then that's making you just as wrong as the person that you call insensitive that's not receiving, quote unquote, what you're trying to give. So it's just a maturity space and all that shit. And if, you know what I'm saying, if people can't correct you, how can you grow? You know what I'm saying? We say these cute things like steel sharpens steel, you know what I'm saying? And no man is an island and all this shit. But when it's time to get in that hot seat, people don't want to sit in that seat. People are comfortable in the other seat. You know what I mean? That's doing the finger pointing or doing the judging, but don't nobody really want to sit in that seat. But
mm,
that's the seat of growth. That's where real life take place. That's how you grow. So that's what I got.
man, I was just about to make a comment right now. You had,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna bring back Kevin Samuels for a second.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said is 100% true, right? They
Mm-hmm.
always talk about the men that be agreeing with Kevin Samuels, right? They be agreeing with him, like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, you tell her, man, yeah, she ain't gonna find nobody. He said, but when I get y'all on here, y'all ain't doing no fucking better. And I be laughing my ass off, right? It's see, when when the attention's on other people, you might laugh and giggle. But when it gets turned to you, who you's like, shit, you ready to defend yourself. You ready to fight with honor. Whatever that motherfucker got to say. Hey, we going out with a bang. But see, I learned that quick when I was younger. Like, even with the people that was around me, like some like okay, some leadership skills I can give you and I X.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do things in an aggressive manner. Some things we do in a calm manner,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we actually understand sometimes the way we have to deliver our pitch to every individual is different versus doing a group overall thing, right? I always tell people, right, like individually, like, yo, you don't talk to that individual like that. It's like, yeah, because I had to talk to him a certain fucking way, bro. That's called the evaluation. I can't talk to everybody the same way. That's stupid. That's ludicrous. That's not gonna have the same effect, right? That's just like sometimes some people got to get touched physically for them to understand, like, you know, a little hit on the chest, a little thing. Some of them, you know, you see some anger come out like they're ready to swing on you. You got some people who get more alert to what they're saying because
Right.
you're getting the impact. You're getting like the heads up, like, yo, you paying attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I wanted to bring up, I know you said you had spoke about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
What was I just about to say? It was dealing with the evaluation process, right? Sometimes you got to be critically honest with yourself on how you're improving, right? We just had an evaluation ourselves between X and I, and it was interesting, right? There was moments as we're getting evaluated, I was on a basis like, man, I really ain't trying to hear this shit, but at the same time, I heard it clearly, right? When your emotions start getting stirred up to what somebody's saying and it's not to your liking, you like you said, you get offended by it. But at the same time, we can't talk about being a masculine frame and being stoic and you act out of emotions. Face it, some things is gonna hurt, but it's there to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect like the more I make progress in my life, I don't expect things to be soft for me. Like for instance, X knows I always say like I don't pander. I don't believe in it. But at the same time, I might not believe in pandering, but when it comes to my little one, I might just call her just a little bit, just a little bit, because she's still young. You know what I'm saying? So then again, that comes with the evaluation that we're talking about. The same things I can do with a child, I can't do with an adult, and the things I do with an adult, I can't do with a child. You
Right.
just gotta have that type of set mindset to understand everybody's gonna be treated different, and you gotta learn how to teach to them in order for them to grow. That's all I got right there.
Correct though. And adding on to the parenting point, it's really important for people to interact with their kids on a real deep level. You know what I mean? Because within that process, while trying to teach a lesson, you often learn a lesson at the same time, especially when you're talking to your kid, because that's like your mirror. You know what I
Mm,
mean? So you're trying to teach them how to overcome some shit, how to implement something of, you know what I'm saying, righteousness or whatever. And then you got to look in the mirror and be like, dang, have I mastered this shit my damn self? You know what I mean? Like, or it's like serendipity. It's like, for example, the word, you lost your wallet, but a week ago, you lost a watch. You look for the wallet, you end up finding a watch within the process. So it's like one task was the task in mind, but you end up finding out something else within that same process. Serendipity. That should happen when parenting. You know what I'm saying? You teaching them something, you think, okay, bet, I'm gonna put them on game. And then you gotta keep it real with yourself. Like, damn, I ain't mastered that yet. So whenever you get into the position of being a teacher, you never stop being a student. You know what I mean? Because even if you think you're teaching that person, that relationship is mutually beneficial. You both learn it within the same process. But I guess another point I could take it to is this whole. I've heard this growing up a lot of times. People would always say this shit like, only God can judge me. You know what I mean? Like often, right?
You see how I look.
And we have to remember, just because it's traditional and it's within the culture, it don't mean that it's appropriate and that it's not toxic. When we get to start saying these type of things, we're limiting our growth and potential, right? If only God could judge you, that's cute. Well, let's just say people believe in God. Your main purpose throughout believing in God is being able to hear the voice of God. All right. So we passed the days where he burning bushes and, dropping shit out the sky. So what's going to happen is your peers are going to be that energy. People in your personal life are going to carry that divine energy to relay these messages to you. But if you can only get it from the pastor, if you can only get it from people that you see within the higher status or statue, you're limiting your growth and potential from hearing this voice of God that you claim that you're always looking for. You know what I'm saying? Everybody want to hear the voice of God until they hear some shit they don't want to hear. And then we say, only God can judge. Bam, God is the one that's trying to tell you this shit. Right. You know what I mean? So that's just my point on that. I just heard a lot of chaotic things growing up. Like I say, do as I say, not as I do. All these toxic sayings that when people say them, they feel empowered. And it's like, well, what are you really gaining from that shit? So those are my points on that.
Oh man, one thing you said that just hit me in the head was like, you said only God can judge me, and I remember like something I watched on TV, and he was like, well, if only God can judge you, and we're made from God, why can't I judge you? I was like, I was like, hold on, man, what just happened right there? But people forget that humans make judgment based on instincts, based on defense. I don't think people understand that, right? If a person's riding down the street, no lights on, everybody got all black on, what you think is time it is? Instinctively, you're like, oh, they're up to no good. You're not gonna look at that. Man, there's some good Samaritans, man. They're about to go save the day. You're not like, we're meant to judge for a defensive purpose to protect ourselves or make ourselves aware of a situation, right? And sometimes when you be judged, it's the best way to start improving yourself, right? I talk about it all the time. Like for me, besides as a black man, people like early on in my life, people like, yo, you look aggressive. And I'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Women be like, they got a resting bitch face. They look mean. They're like, this is how I look. So one of the things that used to help me out as I got better and wanted to engage more socially, I would literally get in the mirror and be in the mirror for about 5 to 15 minutes to try to look at myself on how I make certain faces and why some people look at it as mean, right? Because you really don't know unless you can see it. So if you're in the mirror, or another thing, I would record myself and I'll make different faces to see like, yo, is that really like making somebody upset? And you know what I'm saying? Being hard on yourself or taking that criticism or critique and wanting to make improvements facially within me, myself, improve me in different like places in my life. Right, and I said it before, I said it again. Like I said, we're looked at as aggressors. So I show teeth when I smile. I'm doing things to disarm somebody, not to make conflict, to do harm, to disarm, to like, hey, let me in. Like, let's be friends. Let's talk. Right. Like I said, I always say in a conversation, if I can make you smile, I can make it worth your while. But yeah, this is some really good stuff, man. That's all I got right there for that.
One of my last points is the hero complex. You know what I mean? Like growing up a lot, you know what I'm saying? Some people, like myself, at one point, feel as though it's a need to always evaluate their peers, look out for people, you know, try to
Mm.
correct certain things. And it's like when you spend so much energy doing that, even though you may mean well, you should really be using majority of that energy on yourself. You know what I mean? Like you only have a limited amount of energy. If you're too busy trying to correct other people, then that's taking away the time and energy you need to be correcting yourself. So a lot of times we just gotta know that self mastery is an endless journey. Like you never
Ooh.
get to a point where you can say, "Oh, I'm good." You should constantly keep going, find more problems within yourself. That shit should be an endless journey. So if you're doing that right, you will have less time to really try to criticize other people and you know what I'm saying, evaluate your peers because you will be too busy living your own life. And I think that's what a lot of people don't do enough. You know what I mean? That's why you got a relationship, somebody else got a relationship. You in a relationship more than you in your relationship.
Mm.
You're not a paid psychologist. You're not getting paid for this shit. Then you end up losing your home because you in everybody else's business. You know what I mean? So this just tends to happen. Like, you know what I mean? Two drunk people can't look out for each other. You know what I mean? Somebody got to be a little bit more sober. But we got a lot of drunk people trying to look out for other drunk people. Like we say, the blind leading the blind. So I would just say, you know, the hero complex within a lot of people got to stop. And people got to really put themselves in a position to even be entitled to hero. You know what I mean? When you work on yourself to a particular fashion, then you can have a little bit of energy to give off to other people to kind of evaluate what they doing or not doing. So,
Oh man. Today before I came home, I remember talking to one of my young bucks, man, and he just turned 24. And I told him about the story about how my mentors are basically telling me, "Hey, look, man, it's time for you to get in a relationship, right?" And the first thing he said was like, "You got mentors?" I was like, "Yes, I have mentors. I have mentors and people who guide me in my life." He said, "Well, how'd you end up getting them?" I said, "Shit, sometimes I pitched off. I work for you for free for information." And
mhm.
and he was like, "Huh?" He's like, "Yeah, bro. You'd be surprised by how many people would would want free labor out of a person just like, yo, all I gotta do is teach you shit. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Come here. Yeah, I work with you. Yeah. So I told him about that. I said, but one of my main things about when I find mentors, I like to make sure my mentors actually had mentors before, because you have people that want to step into a teaching position, and then when you evaluate them and tell them about you, you can't tell them shit. That's one of the most toxic relationships you can ever have. Is somebody who can teach you stuff, but you can't teach them anything, or tell them, "Hey, look, you're kind of incorrect right now. Hey, look, you might want to change this up right now." But they feel like they're always right. That's your nugget for the day, guys. If you get a mentor, make sure your mentor actually had a mentor as well. A person teaching you just off what they know, and you can't tell them anything. That's not a good relationship. All my relationships with my mentors, they teach me, I teach them. They might ask me like, "Yo, what's going on over here?" I say, "Hey, this is going on over here." And then like, "Hey, look, so this was going on in the market." You might like, it's equal. It's reciprocity, right? To say a master can't learn from a student, he shouldn't be a master. Because every day these people is coming up with different things that the younger generation are learning how to correct, change, and make better at the same time.
Cool, cool. My last point, even something simple. You know what I mean? We look at people like Jay-Z, Diddy. You have a group of people, you know what I mean? Like biased perceptions happen all the time. Somebody can look at Jay-Z and Diddy and be like, man, that was a great businessman. I want to be just like them. They iconic. Somebody else could say, yeah, that's cool. But all they did was fuck over people to get in that position. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, so biased perceptions, it go a long way. And it's not saying that since you don't necessarily respect how a person got in that position, 100% don't mean that you can't learn from them either at the same time,
Right.
even though you don't really respect them on like a moral level. So that's my last point. Be able to learn from everybody and don't get lost in other people's perception of people. Like it's okay to have your own opinion about, you know what I'm saying, the people that everybody else idolize. You know what I mean? So That's all I got. Like, you become a stronger person when you form your own opinions by your own research and your own knowledge and information versus just following what everybody else says. So yeah, that's all I got on that.
Right. So I'll go ahead and end it. Like I said, it's just not really a long subject. It was more on the basis of telling people, look, it's okay to get outside evaluation, outside criticism in order for you to grow in this life. Because um, one thing, even Bill Gates, when Mark Zuckerberg told him, he asked, like, how'd you grow your company like this? You know, these are people who got evaluated by some of the greats and told them, look, this is what I did. You're in this stage of your life. This is what you can do to improve it. This is what I did, which took me longer. But like I said, it's the evaluation process and wanting to lend aid and the guidance is beautiful. Don't be scared to ask somebody to evaluate you. And especially if you're in business, if you are in business, make sure you get your company evaluated and your staff evaluated. You want to make sure what they say, poor, what they got, poor, good, satisfactory, excellent. You want to make sure like everybody's mood is somewhat up in the upper higher quadrant. That way, you know people are working at the same pace. We know people lie. You know what I'm saying? Just to make the thing. It's good to actually have that. But yeah, man, where can they find us up, man?
Yeah, so I go by the name of King Exodus up top. We got No Ordinary Brother. You follow us individually on IG. We have the YouTube links in both our bios. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have more content on YouTube as well. And we appreciate y'all.